Hello and welcome to the theElpyDimension. I'm your guide Elpy, and this is mixed worm bin number 4. We've got one worm and some wisps. Where are you? There you are. And what looks to be an empty cocoon on our bubble mailer, and some more wisps down here at the bottom. So I was just in mixed worm bin number 1, and normally it's my habit to go in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then blue bin, and then Canadian nightcrawler. However, the plan has been to, by the way, today's the 19th of April, 2025, and it's been, I think I was in here on the 4th. It's been 15 days since, is that a cocoon? Yep. Since I've checked on this bin. It had been 30 days for mixed worm bin number 1. And I wanted to start harvesting this bin 4 and, oh, there's some breeders. 4 and 1 in April, and have them both done in April. Now, when I went over to bin 1, having not been in there in 30 days, I discovered that the worms are still all throughout, as opposed to last time I fed them after 28 days, I think. You know, I thought, all right, if I'm in here in the next week or two, hopefully the worms will have migrated over. And maybe they did, but they weren't anymore. So I'm skipping from 1 to 4 since I more recently fed these guys, and hoping that this bin is ready to harvest because I have the material. Seeing all kinds of cocoons. Now, there still are a lot of worms in these castings, but I'm 95% done. Yeah, look at cocoon, cocoon, cocoon. That might be an empty cocoon, cocoon, cocoon. Oh, yeah. I've been using my castings for transplants outside. I top dressed around my new pea sprouts outside, and then I've been doing some up potting in the last week or two, and I've been using the castings when I up pot as well. So there's not as many worms in this material as there was in the other bin. Now, if you forgot or don't know, the reason I'm on this side is because a long time ago in the summer, I gave the worms a really large feeding. Was it summer? No, maybe it was fall. Anyways, I gave the worms a really large feeding, and come to find out weeks later that there was a lot of fluid on the bottom, and so I wound up having to add a lot more paper products on that side. And so that seemed like a good candidate to say, okay, we'll harvest the right side first and put all the bigger stuff on the left side. So that's why I've chosen, why I'm going after this side. And the last time we fed actually was kind of here, down on this. And I remember I was like, maybe I'll harvest on that side. Because these guys, up until 2 weeks ago, I hadn't been in here in 51 days. So really all of this material is, in my mind, pretty good to go. So what I do is kind of the lazy way. I don't wait till I'm picking out worms, and obvious cocoons. And I'll pick out more worms as I go when I'm using the castings. Now, will I lose a lot of cocoons? Sure. Does that suck? Sure. But the worms, obviously they're breeding, and yeah, I'm about to add new material, so I run the risk of them not being as happy in the new material and deciding that they don't want to breed as much as they were before, but I suspect it'll be the opposite. Yeah, it's more sloshy down there. But, so let's see. Yeah. So many cocoons. Look at this. There. I see even more now with shining the light on it. Man. There's so many here, and they're so obvious that if I wanted to do... I've never done a cocoon... Yeah, no. I've separated baby worms out. But if I wanted to do a cocoon experiment, this would be the bin, huh? Makes me wonder, is the other side as cocoony? Or... All right. Well, so yeah, normally I look at the material and I'm like, this stuff looks more done than not, more processed than not. So let's just harvest it out, and I will feed on the other side. And I did have a divider here, but then 51 days passed and that cardboard divider disappeared. And I'll wait several weeks, a month maybe, whenever I happen to get around to it. And then I'll take half the material out of the bin, put in new material, and give it at least another 2 weeks. Let the new material be inoculated by the bacteria and microbes in the bin. And then I'll come in and take out the rest of the material and add new material on the other side. So, but in the case that happens sometimes is if I just take out whatever today works, and then I've, in other bins, especially bin 1, maybe bin 2, if, I'll take some out and move the old stuff over to make more room, whatever. I guess these days, really, that much more go with whatever. But dang, there are so many cocoons. It's really tempting me to want to do a cocoon experiment. See like how many worms, put in X amount of cocoons and see how many worms I get. But I'm not, if I'm being responsible with all my current duties, tasks, and to-do list, that's going to have to go onto my future list. I mean, maybe some of these, no, that's a cocoon. I was going to say, gosh, maybe some of them are seeds, because it's just so, like, unbelievable how many. But I will. And you saw they were breeding adults, so it's not like the population died off. And all right, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be harvesting. Yeah, so I will do that in the future. I will do an experiment with just cocoons when I'm more prepared to do that. Okay, so what I've got, this bucket actually probably isn't going to be big enough, but I have a 2-gallon bucket, And for now, I'm just going to set it there like that. And yeah, there's chunks in there, and I'm really not worried about it. I see a couple cocoons, baby worms. It's not the end of the world if they go out into the garden. They'll probably be quite happy for it. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is a nice, safe environment relative to the outside world. But that's how it goes. Some worms go out, and that's just it. Okay, kind of sprinkling the material in to help reveal any extra big pieces, or, my God, there's so many cocoons. Wow. You guys, I'm gonna wind up doing a cocoon experiment despite everything I just said. It's not gonna happen today, but it just seems ripe. Because I'm thinking about the fact that when I've seen other people do it, they just use a small container. Like I've seen WD Worms and Garden do it a long time ago. And she just had a little bitty container. So really, it's not like I need space for a whole nother bin. I'm just scooping up the material in front of me. It's not going to wind up being a whole half, since the bucket I have is a 2-gallon bucket. I definitely need more than 2-gallon bucket. But that's the part where I'm going to just move the material over so that I can go ahead and add the new stuff. The only trouble with the new stuff is that the new stuff is going to make the castings wetter. But I need the castings, and I assumed, though I shouldn't have. You know what they say about assuming. If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. Say, to assume makes an ass out of you and me. I assumed, and so I got a bunch of this material wet. And I guess I could have just added it to, yeah, bin 2 needs new material. And it's been a month for them as well. Geez, see, I wasn't really thinking. Because I harvested them. They were the last harvest, what, a month or two ago, a couple months ago now? And, so they're in the stage where I'm happily adding new material to the bin. So everything that I have prepared for a harvest today would not be a problem to add to their bin. Too late. I've started this harvest already. Because there's still that fact that I need the castings. Man, you guys, there's hundreds, probably hundreds of cocoons right now in this bin. Maybe I'm just going to go ahead and stop trying to pick out the cocoons. And I'll pick out the cocoons later. I'll pick out the worms, though. I'll pick out the cocoons later and do an experiment. Yep. Because there'll probably be enough cocoons in this bucket to experiment with. That's what we're going to do. Yeehaw. I have to, right? I just have to. Alright, so we're going to walk away with 2 gallons of castings. And I probably just threw a bunch of those cocoons back in that I so diligently picked out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move material over, since we didn't get a whole half. I know, I see all those cocoons. But I'm going to leave them because that's what I said I'm going to do. We'll kind of dig down deeper so that the more moist stuff from the bottom will be on top. Let it dry out more. And like I said, any worms that are forgotten, I'll go back and pick through later. Well, as I use. Okay. There's my loud freezer. It's really swampy down there. At least it sounds like it. It's not as bad as I thought. Lots of material. I'm definitely going to get 5 gallons out of this. Which means I should have had a 5-gallon bucket on hand, and I knew that. Now I came down here and was like, oh, there's a bucket already ready. We'll just use that bucket. Okay. So we've filled this 2-gallon bucket nicely. There are little chunks here and there. But nothing. I don't know if I saw that worm, but nothing crazy. Okay. Alright, it would seem I very suddenly have to go. So this is what we're looking like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this stuff. Don't knock the bucket over. Yep, I just dug into the feeding zone. Of course, there's a breeding worm. We are going to move all these castings. So this is more like a third than a half, I'd say. We'll leave some castings down here. And, yeah, more like a third than a half. This is where we fed. But, alright, this is tricky. I'm going to throw in that, nah, we'll save the apple bag, actually. We'll use it for a feeding somewhere, somehow. But we are going to layer the bottom with dry paper. Kick up a dust storm. Just what I wanted to do. And then we're going to add this shredded paper that looks like it'll be a fun worm thing because it's got all the cuts in it. And this stuff is very wet. I added more water to it because I was like, oh yeah, I gotta soak paper. But I added too much water. There's already a tiny bit of rainwater in here. These are all weeds from the garden, dead plants that I took out, like basil stems. Oh, it's not as full as I thought it was going to be. Now I have a whole bucket of water. I am going to sprinkle a little bit of dry mix in this new material. Now, I just gave my big feeding to bin 1. So I don't think these guys kind of, I mean, all this stuff is food to them anyways. The only thing I can think to give them is, I have these plant-based noodles that I think they're gross. And this pack was weird, like there was liquid in the... I got a couple packs of them, they were on sale. But yeah, there was liquid in the thing, and I didn't... in the packaging, and I didn't remember. It was kind of greasy, and I'm like, did something spill? So I decided not to eat it. And the one I did eat was gross anyways. I think I've actually got one more. But yeah, it's supposedly a plant-based and I got these greens. Plant-based noodles. They're gonna get that. Okay. And I have, so here's the plant-based noodles. I mean, they come with a sauce, but they're still, it was pointless. That's how I felt about eating them. Okay, now I soaked a little bit more of that packing paper in that weeds water, and now I'm going to top it off with leaves. And I am of the habit to add water to these dry leaves, but I'm going to admit that right now, especially in this instance, that would be a bad habit because I just added a lot of wet items, and the castings I took out, the bottoms of my bins are always I would say, I mean, that's fairly typical that the bottom of your bin is going to be more moist. But I also, I know from experience that adding more more moisture is only going to, it's not going to help me if I'm trying to harvest these castings. It's just, if I can't add moisture here and it not affect over here. But we're just going to quickly, I don't have time today to dig through the whole bin, but it's a lot warmer down here. We're just looking in the last feeding zone. Obviously a lot of worms. That's right, they got an onion that's sprouting. Worms are underneath the onion. This onion is more rotten. I just stuck my finger through it. So, I know they also had some cereal. It was kind of a big feeding. I think I probably gave them weeds too. Yeah, the cereal. Oh, I think there's really moldy bread as well. But you see, there's lots of worms down there. Yeah. So they're digging on their last feeding, and they are not bothered by the onions. If they are, they aren't bothered enough to do anything about it. Let's put it like that. All right. So that was sort of a tease of a look into that feeding zone. But you see, there was still food, and they're still munching away. And now they have a whole new section of the bin to move over into if they want to. In due time, they will. And then maybe I'll be harvesting this bin in stages. Like we've got this one, and then maybe I'll do half of this stuff, and then the other half, or that'll be most likely instead of. We'll see though. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks, I will. To give again, like I said, to give this material time to be inoculated. I'm going to wait a couple of weeks, and then I'll come in and harvest out more material. So, all right, this has been mixed worm bin number 4 after 15 days. And prior to that, it had been 51 days. And we've now harvested out a third of the material. And yeah, cool. Stay tuned for more. This week I went bin 1 to bin 4. And then we'll get back in order. Well, then it'll be 2, 3, and yeah. All right, thank you so much for your time and your interest. Be safe, be well. Bye for now.